And welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. How you guys doing? Excited? Seen some pretty crazy games today. Lots of tearing. But we have our first Zerg versus Zerg on stage so far this tournament. That gets you pretty excited, doesn't it, man? Gets me pretty excited. Are you guys ready to meet your players? All right. Well, the first guy, you have not seen him yet on stage. He has no team. But he's one of only 2 Koreans in the world that lives and trains in the USA on a legit athlete's visa. He's also super buff, speaks good English, and is a super nice guy. He recently finished top 4 in Detroit at the Battlegrounds. He's always a threat, dances really well too. Please put it together for viOlet. That's not viOlet, but that's okay, man. Because that's my mistake. I should have introduced this guy first. Also from Korea, very friendly, used to be a monster, still kind of a monster, and also always a threat. This is Leenock. Now pretend I said nothing before, and then I just said it all right now, and cheer really loud for viOlet. Good luck, guys.
Those mistakes, they happen to the best of us. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt at the cast. It's fine. We'll fix it in post. It'll be absolutely fine, Joe. Welcome back to the Experts Couch. It's the Zerg Experts Couch, where we have 2 Zerg experts.
Yeah.
Good job, Paul, on hiring me to do this event and then not having me cast Zest, but do analysis for ZVZ. A job well done.
The salt is real here, guys.
Would you like some pepper with that?
What's your favorite ZVZ build, Todd? Tell us something about Zerg versus Zerg.
Hatch first and roaches.
The guy from the crowd seems to have a good understanding of this matchup too.
I should get him in instead of Todd.
You know what? I think roaches are probably a good call for these 2 players.
Roach, I'd never heard that before. Apparently, that's good, right?
Roaches are, I've looked into it, they are a thing in this matchup.
Really? That's
quite
astonishing. I don't think I've ever seen roaches built in ZVZ.
You know, Leenock, though, I feel like if somebody was to divert from the regular course of just making drones and then into roaches, it probably would be him doing something crazy.
Something a bit crazy, it's something a bit wild.
Yeah, some links, some banelings here and there.
Okay. Let's get back to the serious stuff. These 2 have a fantastic history. We know about these 2. I mean, 4 big titles for Leenock in the past, 2 for viOlet. Former Intel Extreme Masters winner, of course, as well, viOlet. Somewhat coming back to some of their old shape. They've both had some good results this year. Leenock's had a 3rd, 4th finish at DreamHack Valencia. viOlet's finished 3rd at MLG, 3rd, 4th at Red Bull Atlanta, and Detroit as well. So it's kind of getting back to where we would associate them within their past. It's been a good year for both of them.
I think viOlet has been a little bit more impressive, and he just beat Hyun a week ago in Detroit, quite convincingly as well. I think you were casting that, Nate.
Yeah, viOlet's shown top form, I think, this year. He's really been bringing things back. His time in Atlanta, training with Polt, who his team, I guess almost his teammate, it feels like I should say. He's been living with.
Like, I think
yeah, exactly.
It's more likely.
It's like you're pretty much roommates, one of the best Terran players in the world, and you get constant practice. viOlet's been looking fantastic. Leenock, we haven't seen as much of. You say he's had some okay tournament finishes, but these weren't quite the stacked tournaments that we have here.
But he's had to come through a very tricky open bracket where he had to beat Jadon and he had to beat Huck after losing the first time round to Huck. So he's done that. He's now got himself into this group, and it looks even harder. It's not going to get any easier for him through the tournament. It's a very interesting thing. Stats, we bring these up and out again just to kind of feel out where we are with these 2. We know that viOlet's actually been very good with ZVZ recently. He's well up into the 70% win rates in his form. Leenock not quite so good in ZVZ, but not far off. The interesting statistic comes from Eligulac right now. When asked by me to Eligulac who wins this matchup in a best of 3, Eligulac says Leenock wins with 50.18%.
Sounds pretty even.
I'm going to go with this could be quite tight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. If we look at the way that Leenock's been playing a lot of his matchups in the last couple of months, every game I've seen from him has been something a little bit unusual. I think it goes without saying the matches that we saw him play against Huck to kick things off yesterday were also a bit unorthodox with some of the strategies that he chose. So viOlet can also be a tricky player. But as much as I would normally say viOlet's the more creative one in this matchup, I think he's probably the one that wants to rely on a more standard build.
Okay. Thank you very much, chaps. Let's head over to the commentators for your opening game of Group B. Kalaris and Apollo, take it away.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Welcome back to the caster's desk here for our third series of the day, as we now get into Group B. ZVZ to start things off between viOlet and Leenock. And Leenock, during the open bracket, already defeated Jaedong, of all people, in this matchup.
Yes, he did, and he's actually a very good player, Leenock is, and he's been in the StarCraft scene for ages, but so has viOlet, and they've played against each other multiple times over the years within StarCraft 2, but viOlet, for me, is the player who's in the better form right now. He's the player who just come off the back of a top 3 finish at Red Bull just last week, and his form is really good because he's practicing hard and it's actually starting to pay off. But Leenock is a player we really don't get to see very often. He's still very good. He's hyper aggressive. He loves to get into your opponent's face and loves to be the guy to make the decisions that kind of mold the shape of the game. But I have to go with viOlet here if I was going to pick one of these two.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, for me, more so than anything, what's super impressive about viOlet is his resurgence. For a long, long time, viOlet was nowhere. Where was viOlet? Like, he just wasn't playing tournaments. He wasn't able to play tournaments. But ever since he got back, there was a few stepping stones here and there along the way. But he's constantly getting like top finishes now in every tournament he's playing in. So viOlet, with his mental fortitude to get back to that position, has been so impressive throughout.
Well, viOlet actually, halfway through his StarCraft career, almost retired and almost left StarCraft altogether. He had a lot of visa issues with, where he is now. It was completely the opposite. He was not allowed to compete in America. You had BlizzCon, you had WCS America. He was really lost on what to do in his career, and he couldn't get back into the US to continue to practice and train. But ever since he got that proper athlete's visa, where he's now a professional gamer by the passport professional gamer, he's completely changed up again. He's gone back to what he used to do, which is playing all day, every day. He works very hard on his health and his working out and trains incredibly hard with going to the gym and with playing StarCraft every single day. And he is starting to get results again. He's played 3 tournaments in the last 6 months. He's got top 3, each one of them, but is struggling to get to the final right now. He's not quite able to get that final punch. And this tournament, if he was to do it here, it would be the highlight of his career for a very, very long time, because this tournament is so incredibly difficult. It has the best players worldwide in it. Currently fighting is, right now we're only, in the round of 16, we're in group stages. We're just looking to see if we can find some quarterfinalists right now. So it's going to be very difficult to get deep in this tournament. And Leenock, as you said, has already played and beaten Jaedong, who is very good when it comes to Zerg versus Zerg. But can he beat viOlet, who's very, very comfortable in this matchup right now? Incredibly comfortable.
Definitely. And overall, I feel that this is the best opportunity for these guys. Being in this group, I would say that this group is technically the weaker of the 4 here throughout this. But anyway, let's get into this. Game number 1 now between our 2 Zerg players. Overgrowth is our map. Spawning up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg player. Representing your Flash Wolves, give it up for Leenock. How can you not like that guy? Leenock, he's great. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg here, living in America from Korea. Give it up for viOlet!
And as much as viOlet wants to be able to get a high place in finish and get to a final, we talk a lot about Snoot. Last year we talked a lot about Naniwar and these players on the bubble of the top 16 in the World Championships ranking. We have viOlet, who's currently ranked 18. So with a good performance at this tournament, with good performances in the World Championship Series in America, he has the ability to rise incredibly sharply up the ranking system to get a spot to play at BlizzCon, which wasn't even in consideration for him last year.
Yeah, completely, because of that lull that we saw in him even participating. So that is quite, as I said before, the resurgence. It's amazing.
viOlet's also very lucky too, because he comes into this tournament as a replacement, because Major actually couldn't come here to play, and viOlet was the next in line. So he was very thankful for that and being able to, have this chance to prove himself on this big stage.
And then, I mean, if he didn't actually get that spot straight into the groups, imagine him getting here and going through the open bracket. The open bracket was incredibly stacked, so with quite a few surprises along the way, of course, but viOlet may not have even advanced from that. So being straight into groups is such a boon here when it comes to a tournament like this.
Absolutely, and both players here opening up with hatchery first. They're not really scared of any early spawning pools, any early rushes which could threaten the first map here on Overgrowth. And even viOlet delaying his spawning pool by a drone or two just to get a little bit better of an income at the start, whereas Leenock decided to throw it down slightly earlier than his opponents. But which way are we going to go? We're not going to see super aggression early on. viOlet takes a gas, which pushes him towards getting Zergling speed, towards getting Banelings down. But on the other side, Leenock, not yet. Is he going gasless here? Does he want to play with minerals only, where he would require himself to build a wall? We'll see, because he's got to start taking it soon if he is going to.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Overlords for now for viOlet heading towards the main base after seeing that hatchery first. Has an opportunity to like sneak in there for a second, try and see if there's any gases. But he has to be careful of the Spore Crawler being built by Leenock at the back of this. Oh, he's going to try and snipe out the Overlord. Very nice little play here by Leenock.
Yes, it is. Is viOlet going to go stretch the Overlord to the back here? Because if he sees one gas, he might turn around. And he might be able to get away here. The Spore Crawler's going to go for it.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, viOlet knows that this is here now.
They die extremely fast. He's going to get out of range. He's actually going to get away from this.
It's going to be okay here.
It's so crazy to see them die that fast.
And that's a drone wasted and 75 minerals thrown into that Spore Crawler, which isn't going to be too useful here. So Leenock tried that, but he was really hoping that viOlet would go for the second gas, not just one and then back off. But a little bit unfortunate there for him. But we do see now gas coming in. Zergling speed being researched. This Overlord actually got hit by a queen or two, but still escaped.
Oh.
Actually, there's a queen coming for it.
Oh, wow. Leenock's on the hunt. He is on the hunt.
viOlet,
it stopped.
He doesn't even know that the queen was chasing it, so he does get that. Was not expecting that for sure.
No, not at all. But a lot of drones now on the way for Leenock behind. This double gas is being taken as well. So he does have the opportunity to keep ramping things up here.
Sixling's going to test the water a little bit here by viOlet. Going to start going over the other side and having a look at what Leenock's doing, taking map control. He already knows that he's pretty much playing against a gasless style. You cannot get the Spore Crawler. And there's already one gas that wasn't missing. It just really doesn't make sense if there was a gas down here. So viOlet has built 6 slings and now 10 more here.
Yeah, it was quite a lot on the way.
So that's going to be a total of 16 while taking his third behind this, and that is immediately spotted here by Leenock.
Well, during all of that, I mean, the Overlord that actually died there, going over viOlet, that was ideally the Overlord that would have been spotting if there was a third going down, like actually retreating back to that location, because right now he's just in the middle with all of his Overlords, really not spotting things out. So he needs to eventually go over there and have a little bit of a look around, see what timing that is for.
Absolutely, he needs to get full information on this game, but he knows he's playing against a gasless style, otherwise there would not be this complete wall off. And behind this, he's going to drone quite heavily. He's got to make sure that he doesn't die to any weird counter-attack or any weird plays like Leenock's building now. Because 16 links this early, this doesn't make much sense. Why are you building 18 links when you have a complete wall here? You don't need that many. And a Roach Warren. He's going to go for like a Zergling Baneling attack here more than likely. And if he's going to play something like this is to look to catch viOlet, who would be droning and saying, all right, this guy doesn't and cannot be aggressive. He's not going to be aggressive. Interesting play coming out here from Leenock. And viOlet has to be so careful not to take losses to this high amount of Zerglings we're going to see.
Yeah, as long as he hides all these units and makes sure his opponent isn't too aware of it, it could be difficult. There's Transfuse energy available here to keep that Queen alive. So that was a little bit futile for viOlet, who, unfortunately for him, you know, the Zerglings aren't really doing anything for him right now.
But right now, Leenock's going to go, hello, I've got some Zerglings of my own here. And viOlet's got to be very careful about how he's going to approach this.
He's trying to get in with these Zerglings. He really needs some information. He may get that drone that was heading over to the third base. Oh, great transfuse. Really good save there by Leenock.
He does let some lings in. All these Zerglings going to get to this third. If they destroy this third, it doesn't look like Leenock's going to obviously commit to Zerglings and Roaches here, but if this third goes down...
That's going to be big.
Well, look at it. It's dying incredibly fast here.
There's really nothing to deal with it. I mean, there's a few Roaches now running towards it, but by the time they even get over there and start killing some Zerglings, this is going to be gone. So Leenock, so far, opening up brilliantly.
Yeah, well done there by Leenock. And viOlet now, I mean, he doesn't have an upgrade advantage. He doesn't really have an economy advantage. He doesn't have a unit advantage. Where's viOlet in this game?
Good surround as well. If he's trading off links for roaches whilst having extra units on the way behind this is not too bad at all. And all of those roaches dying up there, he can retreat out with so many links. That's not too bad.
Very, very good push there. Very nice strategical move from Leenock.
And he's actually going to go for the straight-up engagement once again. The roaches are tanking quite a bit, so this might not go his way entirely once the reinforcements come along. Pushing that back now as well with the entire force itself. But during all of this, he did get his lair on the way. But he is behind in terms of speed because viOlet was there already.
Yeah, roach speed is going to be a big upgrade in this game because viOlet can now be aggressive without having to worry about maybe losing his units on the other side of the map compared to Leenock, who cannot. And Leenock really needs to start thinking about building some roaches in this game. He has a high amount of lings, and hopefully they can buy him time, run around a little bit. But he's got to be careful of viOlet pushing out with a lot of roaches soon. Yeah,
and the army's always in position here for viOlet to hold off at his third. And now, if you look at the supplies, because he has so many roaches in his arsenal, it's that's why these supply counts are really kind of deviating here. Leenock is just trying to buy time for these roaches to have to be on the defensive.
Yeah, 8 more drones coming out here for Leenock, really squeezing out 8 more. So he has a lead in every regard apart from roach speed. So all he needs to do is just hold on against this next push out from viOlet. And then he should be in really, really good position with his upgrades. I think he just cancelled +2 armor there. I think I saw it before, just to get more roaches out to make sure he doesn't die to this push out.
Yeah, Spinecrawler is actually really important here for Leenock because of the numbers of roaches. Currently it's 25 to 10, and the roaches are already on Leenock's doorstep. He has to be very careful about it. He's actually bringing some units in from the back here, which could help.
I don't think Leenock has enough yet, and he's losing them one by one.
Needs to keep these alive for as long as possible for more reinforcements to come out, but viOlet has a lot here with more on the way as he's going to try and pull back just a little bit here to continue this on, but his numbers are just overwhelming at this point.
He just doesn't quite have enough.
Yeah, this is great for him. Again, it's that divide and conquer mentality. If you're dealing with roaches on the left and right, kind of filtering through here, Leenock and killing the Roach Warren
as well. So this is really bad news for Leenock, and it was just so well constructed by Leenock, but he only needed 30 more seconds, maybe 60 more seconds, and he would have had enough.
Focusing down these roaches one by one here as viOlet, bringing those numbers down, thinning them very, very fast. So the drones off the line as well here for Leenock, trying to hold on desperately against this. But all it can reinforce with is lings. And as more and more roaches go across the map here for viOlet, that's a pretty nice position. Although +2 is going to help out the remaining roaches of Leenock for a second, but it's going to be difficult.
Oh, this is very sad here for Leenock to lose like this. This would have been a very good game from him, but viOlet just hit at the right time, right before anything was properly out there. And you can see that viOlet's just running circles around these roaches, picking off a couple on the left, cupping a pick on the right.
Nothing he can do. Nothing he can do really at this point here for Leenock. He's down in terms of supply. He's lost all his queens. GG. viOlet takes game number 1. A pressured situation for him, but he crisis managed like a boss.
Yeah, very close game. That really, really could have gone in Leenock's favor. It was just 30, 60 more seconds. Maybe those lings should have tried to brought more time there for Leenock rather than taking fights into the roaches towards the end. But either way, it is going to be viOlet who opens up this series with the first map in his favor. And some would say expected here, but Leenock's definitely got it within him to bring this one back and tie this up.
viOlet's looking good, though. viOlet is looking good. As for now, 1 up against Leenock. It's a good start for him in this group because not only is there Leenock in this group, but there's also Hyun, a guy that viOlet has beaten in the past. So he has a really good chance of doing well here in this group. Yoda obviously being that 4th player who, if you don't actually follow a huge amount of the European scene right now, Yoda looked really good in the qualifiers for this tournament.
Yeah, Yoda's definitely a player to mess around with the 3 Zergs in this group. But every game, incredibly important here. It's very difficult to call 2 players to definitely advance from this group. But viOlet definitely putting a claim for himself in here with the first map against Leenock. But he's got to be careful. He got surprised in this game. That's the most important part really here, because that's what put him slightly behind when it came to everything apart from roach speed and the roaches. He's got to be careful about moves that Leenock can play. Those lings that killed his third changed a lot.
And in the end, there's the bigger picture to this as well, because when you are in a group stage like this, normally going into the brackets later on, it's first places versus second places, first places versus second places, distributed amongst that round of 8. So you really want to take first place in one of these groups, because look at the first places that are already there you could play if you were second. Tasia's already there.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure anybody really wants to play Tasia looking at what he did in the group just now.
Well, it's been a long time since we've seen Leenock in a big final. Can this be his tournament? The last final he played in was DreamHack Stockholm in 2013. Quite a while back when he won that tournament. But since then, he hasn't really done very well within the GSL, hasn't really done well in international tournaments either. He's played a couple here and there. He did have a big spike in results at DreamHack Valencia just a couple months back where he got the top 4 finish. But viOlet is definitely playing some of the best games he's played in a while.
King Stage on Station is going to be our next map between these two. And again, technically, the game can play out pretty similarly. The one thing that's interesting on this map compared to others is the fact that Overlords get over to the natural very, very fast. So you can get a little bit more information regarding that. And then maybe if you want to go in and try and scout out gases, but you also have to be careful of the way the gases are positioned to when the Overlord's going. Because if Leenock pulled something like a Spore Crawler behind mineral lines again, you could get caught off guard.
You definitely can, so everything's going to be important. Just the smallest details are going to be important for both of these players. viOlet does have his WCS America group not too long away now, just over a week. But right now, full focus on the Intel Extreme Masters.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 2 now, as we have another Zerg versus Zerg. Up to the top left, representing your Flash Wolves. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Leenock. Down to the bottom right, currently 1 game up in this series, as are Red Zerg. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for viOlet. A lot of viOlet fans.
Yep, he's an awesome guy, an awesome player. I'd be surprised if he didn't have any.
Yeah, it's true.
But we are slowly making our way closer and closer to Group D, which is everybody's highlight for today. Currently in Group B, and then afterwards we will be going into Group C. Then is the Group of Death officially here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Scarlet, Flash, MC, and Life will get played out later on today, and that has to be one of the best groups we've seen in a StarCraft tournament for quite a while. But that is still just around the corner. But for now, it is all about viOlet, Yoda, Hyun, and Leenock. Which player are we going to see go through in first place? We're only playing the first place player game today.
Yep.
And then the second place decider is going to be played back to back to back to back tomorrow. 4 games, 4 winners, 4 players will move on.
It's going to be an awesome tournament for the rest of it. It'll be, I mean, the open bracket was already amazing. These starting games for today. Tasia doing what he did just before, defying gravity, I'm going to say. That's what he basically did somehow, some way. So anyway, this ZVZ now, we already see the gas going down here for Leenock. So there is opportunities for him to arise. We've already mentioned how aggressive this guy can be if he really wants to be. And in the end, I feel that his aggressiveness in game number 1 almost killed him off. I mean, he was, you know, yes, he got a kill on a 3rd base, and but overall, you know, sacrificing a few units to try and keep that going, it's a bit difficult.
All right, so Leenock is going to have quite a big lead when it comes to his Zergling speed here. He's already at 40 in the bank, and viOlet hasn't even started mining any gas yet. So there is an opportunity where he can be the aggressor in this game. But viOlet, well, both of them really can or should be able to scout each other's gas out here. Once again, with Hatchery first, you can get in before the Queen is out. viOlet hasn't really spotted much, though, unfortunately for him. He's going to swing around the back and actually check the wrong gas here. So it's like a 50-50 call because you don't know which one is going to have the extractor on. So Leenock gets a small advantage in that way. He clicks. He knows that he's faster in this regard when it comes to the Zergling speed. But that's the only thing he's researching. Whereas on the other side here, we have viOlet who didn't get any information, and he's thrown down a very, very early evolution chamber here.
Is this like a cautionary measure because he just doesn't know what's going on and may like go carapace or something like that quickly?
There's a style here, but the biggest problem is with this is that viOlet doesn't know what he's playing against, so he doesn't know if he should get Zergling speed of his own or not. He's taking a bit of a risk here, but usually when you get the evolution chamber like this, it's carapace, and then it's going to be a very heavy Zergling style for the majority. But it's a +1 attack. This is not so common here.
No.
Not so common at all, so he could plan an attack around getting this +1. This is before Zergling speed. interesting plays coming out here from viOlet, but Leenock's just expecting Zergling speed to come in here.
Yeah, he really is. He's not going to be able to see that too quickly. He's going for the Baneling Nest as well. Here is Leenock. So just a few Zerglings poking around at the front, trying to get some intel.
Well,
16 Zerglings on the way.
You're building 16 Zerglings and getting a Baneling Nest against a guy who just doesn't have anything apart from an upgrade. So it's like an incredibly greedy style from viOlet, but it's not going to come into play here. If you can get that +1 attack out, if you can get a good amount of roaches out, sure, but he's running into 22 lings, and Baneling's here. What is he going to use to defend this front?
And he's already getting a spine crawler. He's going to need a startling defense to actually deal with this, because right now he has very little to his name. Leenock is just powering across the map with a lot of lings now. Some of them have been spotted.
Oh, this is going to be so difficult to hold for viOlet. He just was not expecting Leenock to play this style.
Yeah, no speed against speedlings and banelings. This spine crawler is actually really interestingly positioned and very, very nicely, I have to say. The whole position here from the drones is fantastic. He needs to protect that spine crawler, and he is doing very, very well. A bit of focus fire here from Leenock to try and bring those drones down, but the spine finishes, doesn't have transfuses for the queen, so one ends up falling.
Yeah, but he's not mining.
Yeah, that's a big problem. The roaches are 5 roaches now on the way, have to do something and make a big play here to be able to deal with this.
Oh, he's in.
Oh, and all the lings go down as well there. One baneling with those Zerglings now escorting, looking for that mineral line. Good focus there from viOlet to bring down that baneling, but still, he lost loads of mining at the natural and is losing it in the main.
viOlet's so far behind where he could just leave the game soon, because he has one thing in his favor, is the roaches. But are the roaches even a high enough number? He doesn't have a very good economy, so he cannot build many of them. He's got his +1 attack, but he just needs to build roaches and go over and do damage. Is Leenock going to be ready to deflect this back? It's not a big force. He has the second spine coming in to support, and he should start building units now. He's going to have roaches very shortly as well. Leenock has viOlet has just one chance to get some equal damage down, and if he doesn't, I mean, you're playing with a 20 drone difference.
Yeah, in a mirror matchup, I mean, that is terrible here for viOlet, who now has to march across, see what he can do. It's 2 spine crawlers to greet him with a queens as well. No energy for transfuses, one just about pops.
Yeah, 6 roaches on the way and lings. And then what we're going to see, if Leenock can defend this, he'll counter with a high amount of units, which I'm not sure viOlet could do.
Sees the spine crawlers. This is even just a little bit apprehensive about poking up already, which is not a good position, because as he stays around at the front not doing anything, his window is just closed. It's actually locked.
I mean, viOlet's in a very, very difficult position now, and that attack he just was not ready for earlier on, and now he's going to pay the price here. Leenock should just be waypointing units, already thinking about the next move, which is the kill move. His opponent's economy is so weak, he actually just cannot build a big enough army in time. 5 roaches coming out, a drone that's not going to be useful at all, and as you can see, Leenock is just tracking these units down, and he's just going to go the distance.
Oh, and the roaches even pin themselves up against the wall for the banelings to do good splash damage there as well. So things really not going good for viOlet here in game number 2. Leenock just decides, well, roach, speed with third base behind it as well, because why on earth not? I'm so far in the lead that I can happily take all these.
Yeah, and he's going to start fighting here. viOlet gets rid of 1 of these roaches, but he does lose 2. So 2-2, just kind of wear each other down. But viOlet's going to find this hard to stop, but we are going to see Leenock drone a little bit more, so he's not committing to a big attack here. He's just going to further his lead, which is the smart thing to do, but as Leenock goes in, he's going to see this very low drone count, this low roach count, and he's starting to build up more roaches to add to his army, so I think he's starting to realize a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty simple here at the moment. Right now, it's just more for Leenock, pretty much of everything, aside from obviously that +1 that technically is in favor of viOlet. And viOlet with the +2 weapons, kind of, ultimately, he has to do something with his money. Like, if the game goes on longer, then yes, he would have that advantage, but that's if Leenock doesn't take his window now, which isn't locked at all. It's quite wide open once all his roaches are over there with speed.
viOlet needs to drag this game out quite long here to get towards that +2 attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And here comes the push of a lot of roaches here. Technically, the upgrade's in favor of viOlet, but he loses his spine crawler. Reinforcing roaches really needs to come along with this for Leenock, because viOlet could actually win out, or at least trade evenly this fight, and he's going to push this away.
Yeah, he pushes it away, but Leenock's still maintaining a 20-30 supply advantage here. With that third hatchery's done, that's quite a big set of production that he's going to allow himself to get towards. The extra lava, the production, the lava injects here are going to help out so much.
Very difficult to make up for the deficit in the end in a situation like this, as viOlet is valiantly trying to hold on. That third base is later than Leenock's. Leenock's numbers of roaches are going to be increasing so much faster than we're seeing here from viOlet, because he just simply doesn't have the economy to compete.
Yeah, 11 roaches just to 4 that are being built. You can see the difference in the production tab between what both of them can build here. And out on the field, we have 24 roaches for Leenock and just 16 currently for viOlet. And with Leenock building more, we know that he's going to start to really move across and take some fights that are going to be very difficult for him to lose. That +2 attack is so close but so far for viOlet. That will help out, but I think the numbers might be just too big here. Leenock's been riding an advantage from a very early part of this game.
50 in-game seconds for that +2 to finish up. Can Leenock do damage before that? Probably. Actually walking down into that, takes the first volley from viOlet's roaches, but in the end, I think the numbers will just be too overwhelming here. The reinforcement point, once again, is the big difference maker here. Can viOlet get his reinforcements over there quickly enough to be able to help out? He's bringing his queens down, knowing he needs an extra little bit of oomph there, and we'll push away for now.
He does hold on, so he's going to get that +2 attack for the next fight, so it's going to assist him a little bit here.
Yeah, it's a big deal, actually. Big
viOlet
deal.
Not just dying straight away, and the supply advantage is still just the same. It's roughly 20-30 at all times. But look, 66 to 58, 64 to 46 when it comes to the army and worker size. And Leenock even up to 64 drones now to 46. Very, very small here. But
it's like still some distance to cover for viOlet. Yes, he has +2 weapons, so yes, his roaches are going to be a little bit more efficient one-on-one, but that's not how the fights happen. It's all about the concaves. It's all about how aggressive Leenock's going to push straight into the heart of those roaches. And he has a look around, goes through a Contaminate and slows down the carapace, but realistically, that's quite a way off.
Yeah, it's a numbers game at this point. You just see the units tab to the top left. It's Leenock's just outclassing him in every regard now. The only one thing that I guess viOlet has is an Overseer morphing to go to 2.
Wow, wow.
I mean, it's not going to help out when it comes to the fight here, Kalaris, unfortunately.
No, not too much, not too much. Well, although with Burrow on the way and Tunneling Claws, I guess having vision in 2 places might help, as Leenock now moves out with a swell of roaches. That is so many roaches. How many do we have, actually? 45 against 35, which technically, numbers-wise, I still feel viOlet can make up with the reinforcement point, but it's where he takes the engagement, how he takes it. That's all important.
Yeah, it's also position, too. I mean, if he gets a better position, maybe he can hold on like he's been doing, but this game he's just been holding on for so long. And if he can get up to 200 supply, if they both have a 200 army supply fight, then if he has a good fight and can outplay his opponent, then it's not all over yet, but it is looking a little bit bad.
Well, the engagement's going to go down. No upgrade advantage for either player. I think maybe Carapace just finished up there for Leenock.
I mean, viOlet's holding on there. He's taking the high ground.
Yeah, and him taking that is very important. If he gives that up for any particular reason here, then...
But his third is becoming a little bit weak, obviously. There's no units over there whatsoever. 2 spines are being made to just kind of work around this problem.
Roaches amassing is going to give him a really hard time over there, because as much as he can hold on in one location, 2 becomes a huge, huge problem with
and he's splitting his forces over here. viOlet's bringing some units down towards this third. He knows his threats are quite...
He's playing so well considering the position. And hey, that second Overseer now comes into play here, Sean, as he can actually find those burrowed roaches trying to tunnel themselves forwards. And he even sees the spines on them, so now obviously a Tunneling Claws is in effect during all of this, but they are regenning whilst they burrow. Leenock sacrificing a few roaches. viOlet is actually doing very well to get back into this game.
Absolutely. He was getting closer and closer towards that 200 supply. I mean, he almost is there at this 200 supply. As long as he doesn't take any massive damage here, that's not a good fight that he's taking. He's trying to work in 2 areas. He's not focusing on this right-hand side. He pulls back, but he's now going to take more losses as Leenock may try to push his way into that natural.
Yeah, and that Queen really doesn't have any energy for transfuses on that flank either, but here the concave in the end was in Leenock's favor, but the roach numbers for viOlet should be able to win that out. Well, meanwhile, on the right-hand side, blow for blow, trying to kill off a few roaches in the mineral line as well to deny some of the damage going down on his workers. He's already lost 16 during that, so Leenock is trying to just divide up a few and kill off where he could.
viOlet's doing very good here, but the reinforcements to Leenock are going to be a little bit difficult to deal with. There's a lot of them 15, 18 all the time because he's got so much money. He's had so much freedom. viOlet is dropping in supply now, 137. But you have to credit viOlet so much for this game. He's been playing behind since the very start here, but he's not dead yet, and he won't die. He refuses to.
Yeah, and he can continue to go on, but Leenock behind this, I mean, he has his 4th base up and running, and with that 10 drone advantage that he had during these periods, it's very, very difficult once again for viOlet to keep defending on each of these angles and keep pushing this back and have an economy to rival Leenock's at this point.
Yeah, he's doing very, very well, though. He's obviously cut out Burrow and Roach movement, so he's got to be careful about that, not to allow Leenock to find a way in with a couple of units.
And overall, I mean, the Burrow play, it just puts a little bit of doubt in violet's mind. It's like, well, I couldn't afford that upgrade, so I can't really be the offensive with my roaches. I always have to be defending, but where is he hitting me next? What's going on? As the concave is going to try to be established here for Leenock. A very good concave. Violet has to back off just a little bit on that north side to try and find a better position, but that was all Leenock there with that concave. Now aggressively pushing up against these roach numbers. Can the reinforcements here for Violet work out? It's 126 army supply against 84. It's so close, blow for blow in those areas. The reinforcements for Leenock are just a little bit slow during that.
Yeah, it pushes him back again now, and he's going to take a fight on the high ground, and viOlet continues to do very well in this game, but he's dropping so heavily in supply now. The reinforcements won't stop being built here by Leenock, and with a new base being taken in the middle of the map with a +2 carapace, we will now finally take an advantage when it comes to the upgrades in this game. Leenock now starting to edge out. violet pushes him back, but he's going to walk into the new army here.
Yeah.
So he obviously cannot go too far on the other side.
And with his 4th base being there, that's so smart to actually contaminate that hatchery, especially the one that's closest to him, to try and slow down as many roaches as possible from getting over there quickly.
violet needs a 4th base, though. I mean,
yes,
he's running out of money now. He cannot keep up with Leenock anymore, with Leenock on 4-3.
Very, very scary times here for violet. He's held on for a long, long time, but Leenock slowly is overwhelming. Again, contaminates were good for violet, but he has to do even more than that to try and deal with it. He's trying to set up a good concave here on his 3rd base, but slowly being run dry.
And he's slowly running dry. Maybe if he wins this fight convincingly, though.
Might be a little bit difficult. Numbers pretty even here as trying to work away at some of these, but are there any more roaches? I mean, there's some going up or trying to get into the natural as well. These numbers are going to get overwhelmed, but how do you deal with this? If they get a few drones here or there, this is okay for Leenock in the end with, look how many roaches are on the way as well.
Yeah, it looks like violet's slowly being consumed here. And he does clean up that force, but he's taking a lot of damage on the natural, and there's an army being rebuilt right above his expansions here. He cleans this squad up, but there's another one ready to go now.
It never stops. It absolutely never stops. Leenock does not let up, and that's the important part of this matchup overall. Because if you give violet some breathing room, like we saw, you know, he got up to 200, even with a little bit of defense during that. So in the end, Leenock slowly breaking away at violet here in game number 2.
178 to 121. This has been a very difficult game here for violet. Just hanging on. Can't find a way back into this to really rival what Leenock has. And is this the fight that Leenock finally has enough numbers, or is violet going to push him back again?
Well, he's got the upgrade advantage of 2-2 over 1-2 here whilst pushing forwards. This could just be it. Even when this was happening, like one roach was in the mineral line, killing off a few drones as well. Leenock knows how to spread. GG. Leenock takes game number 2, tying up the series. Very, very strong play, always constantly in his opponent's face.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for him to finish, violet off there. Sure, he was winning for the majority of the game, but violet very, very resilient to just leave and be beaten up there.
All right, so 1-1 now. Violet looks at that and he's like, well, I held on for a lot longer there than probably a lot of people would have given him credit for. That was very, very well done, as game number 3 is going to be telling, because Leenock, ever the aggressor, could go for something aggressive, depending on the map, of course, during this.
So this last decider game is going to be quite huge here, because in Zerg versus Zerg, the build orders can be so aggressive that the game can end in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But is someone willing to do that? Is someone willing to do that could not work? But if it does, then you're obviously straight through to the winner's game, and you're looking at a first-place finish in the group. But, we've seen... The funny thing is if it works, you look like a genius. If it doesn't work, then you look like just a Just a player who made a bad mistake.
Todd style, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
He'll get me later, it's fine. So we're just waiting for game number 3 to load up now. It's going to actually be Deadwing during this. So I would say overall aggressive builds are a little more tricky to pull off here because of the spawning locations, because it's very big, a big map to actually cruise across during all of this. So Leenock may be a little bit more apprehensive about doing something like that, but likewise, viOlet here. I think viOlet, if you look at how this series has gone so far, I think viOlet's very confident in his ability to go into the mid game and then late game, level pegging, and then win out.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. I think, pretty sure he does as well.
Yeah.
And the winner of this will be going up against Yoda on stage next, as Yoda was able to eliminate Hyun 2-1 in the other game that's being played simultaneously. So we will have a Zerg versus Terra next on stage, but which Zerg will take on Yoda, who continues to impress in recent times?
And do we have an update from Group A yet?
Pult was eliminated by Zest 2-1. So Zest tomorrow will fight against Liquid Bunny in the decider to see who will go through in second place. So unfortunately for Pult, who won a tournament last weekend, he gets beaten up 2-0 in his group, losing versus Bunny and then later on Zest.
That really shows the level of play that we've got here in the round of 16 alone. The fact that Pult goes out in the round of 16, that's quite surprising, but there you go. That's how the cookie crumbles. We are now getting into game at number 3. Deadwing is our map between these two. And I think, overall, as I said before, I think that viOlet would be happy to just go into the mid-game, level peg and play a little bit more of a defensive style early on. Of course, it is Deadwing. It will favor him, one would think.
But this map here is very easy for Zergs to get 3 and 4 bases on.
Yeah.
So you see a lot in recent times, especially in the European scene, is that you see these players taking the 2, 3, 4 bases really fast and building up towards a really brutal army later on. Whether it be Ultras, whether it be Broodlords, or something along the lines here, because of how accessible these 4 bases are. But do they even get to that part of the game? It could end faster. As much as this is a big map, Zergling speed allows Zerglings to run pretty fast.
It does,
which means the aggression can still come.
Yeah, they're pretty fast, those Zerglings, you're right.
And especially on a map this big, which, the tendencies are usually to play greedy or to play very economy focused. So it doesn't matter how big the map is, if you don't have defenses ready and if an attack comes, the game ends anyway.
All right, well, let's get into it then. Game number 3 now. One of these guys is advancing on to the winner's match, as we have our first player spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner. It's our blue Zerg. Representing Yo Flash Wolves, it is Leenock. And up to the top right, we have our red Zerg here, living in the US of A. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for viOlet.
And we've already seen players being eliminated from this tournament, and WCS BlizzCon hopes already been shattered, and viOlet is a player that does not want that to happen here. He cannot lose these games. He needs the points. He's only rank 18. He has to get top 16 after this tournament to make his WCS America life a little easier. And viOlet is completely true.
No.
Claris, viOlet and Leenock completely agreeing.
I already said, Sean, like the second day we were here, this is somewhere I could live.
Yeah?
It's so nice.
Have you tried poutine yet?
No, I have not, but I shall eventually. Few cheers for poutine, apparently.
As an Englishman, this is going to be very weird to try it, but I'm very interested to do so.
Yes, you're right, because we have it. In England, we have chips or fries with gravy or cheese. Not the
both.
same.
Not both, yeah.
Well, not both.
So Jarrett Kale was telling me, by the way,
Yeah.
that this is actually funny considering we are both English. But, so they don't just do poutine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, chips, gravy and cheese, but they also throw other stuff in there, like bacon gets in there and some
Bacon?
other stuff gets thrown in there.
Did you say bacon?
They mix a lot of stuff in that, man.
Bacon!
So
Oh, I'm happy now.
definitely going to try some different mixtures.
Yeah, that sounds great. Bacon makes anything better. Wow. Okay. All right, well, no gases just yet for these guys. No gases, as we have that hatchery on the way, as well as spawning pools going down as well. So both players just kind of a gentle agreement here, because the map is so big, because the cross spawns, they're not really spotting each other with these overlords too rapidly as well. So it's very important. Oh, but they did notice each other with the overlords up to the top left, actually.
Yeah, so they know where they've spawned now.
Yeah.
Neither of them have chosen aggression. No gases, no Zergling speed, no attacks.
Nope. Just a few lings trickling out here for viOlet. 8, actually. So is he going to make even more than that? That's quite a lot here earlier on. I guess it's because he just doesn't know what his opponent's doing, or he could just himself be a little bit aggressive.
I'd be very surprised if he built more.
Yeah, that's quite
At this
a lot
point,
for this stage.
It's kind of to make sure that you aren't dying to anything here, but you could get damage done as well with these lings if you were somehow to escape any Overlord range. Because as we saw, Leenock only has 2, right?
And he knows where the Overlord is in the middle, so imagine if he just sneaks around.
So if he sneaks around, sure, this could work.
Yeah, this is cute. I like this.
And if you look at all the Overlords of Leenock, there's only one that's going to spot this. And it's kind of late when it does spot this.
I mean, overall, Queens, if they're in the right positions at the right time, can do quite a bit against lings like this.
I mean, right now, viOlet's behind in drones by 2, but let's see if he gets ahead in drones after this or not.
Yeah, doesn't deny the scout going into the main here, so Leenock gets the opportunity. Takes both gases just before that ling gets in, so might end up cancelling. We'll find out. Great surround on that first Queen, though. Oh, viOlet starting this game off with a bang.
And he's getting drones.
Yeah. If he gets... How many has he got? He has already got 2. This is a really, really nice start there for viOlet.
But with the way that Leenock's playing, it's 10 more drones.
Yeah.
So there were 3 killed, but we still see Leenock with a slight drone advantage. But he did lose a queen, and he's revealed everything that he's up to. He's playing gasless until this current point where he's thrown down those 2 gases. But interesting start from viOlet. Definitely a success, though. Definitely a success. It's not like that didn't work.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. And now, obviously, Overlord's positioning themselves in the middle between these 2 bases to just keep an eye on what's going on, really. Dead even on the workers. Just a little bit of a lead there for Leenock. As we have the layer about to start up for viOlet.
Yeah, you're usually going to see the layer here to get roach speed out really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would be expecting a roach run in Evolution Chamber probably to come down very shortly here for viOlet, whereas Leenock is building a lot of lings, and this is actually, again, something very similar to what we saw in Overgrowth. 10 lings. He's shown the 3rd, I think. I'm pretty sure that Overlord saw the 3rd. Okay, maybe it was just outside of range, but at this point, Leenock is going to go to the other side of the map with all these Zerglings. He doesn't have the lair, he doesn't have a Roach Warren or Evo until just now. But if he gets similar damage done again,
I mean,
if not worse.
Pushing that Overlord away at the front is great to deny the vision for as long as possible, but the wall already started for viOlet at the front to transition into his game plan, which is the defensive position, the upgrade position that he feels he's more comfortable in, as long as he doesn't take damage here.
These lings shouldn't really do that much, I don't think.
No.
There's enough transfuses, and now there's roaches on the way. So if these lings don't get that much damage done for Leenock, why were they built? And how much has that hurt him in this game? And clearly a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Lings are going to poke forwards. Oh, yeah, that's...
Okay, well, viOlet clearly wasn't expecting that.
No, not at all. Those lings got in a bit easier than we were expecting as well. Some transfuses on these queens to try and keep them alive, as well as the roach.
He missed the transfuse, he hit the roach warren.
That was a bit of a miss, but how many drones has he lost overall during this? 3, 4 going down. The roach is trying to hold on during it. The lings having to be filtered through these little holes.
It's a very good defense by viOlet.
Yeah, that worked out all right for him in the end, despite everything being leaky. So, yeah.
All right, so he did, well, Leenock's gained a slight lead when it comes to the economy because of that Spore Crawler, pretty much.
Good job, Spore Crawler. You did nothing. Well, he's going to chill out of the front. At least it denies the vision of, like, for example, when Roach Burrow would come into the game, something like that.
I mean, we're going to witness a very similar thing to what we saw in Overgrowth as well, is that Leenock, did an attack, which, did something in this game, but then he's got double evolution chamber, which is a lot of gas here. He doesn't have roach speed, and viOlet is moving across the map with a +1 attack, which should finish before, of course, Leenock's here and before the engagements really take shape.
And unless Leenock takes the engagement like above this ramp before the wall of evolution chambers, which, you know, he's down on roach numbers, like...
But 2 spines is very helpful.
Yeah, of course. That should be enough to be able to push this away at least. So, but behind this, 10 drones on the way for Leenock as well. He's very confident in his abilities to deal with this push out from the roaches.
Well, not only does he have a better economy and better production, he's also going to be looking at 2-2 soon. And that's where things can get a little bit sticky. It obviously makes a good opportunity and a good timing for him to hit around those upgrades when they do complete.
Yeah, so Leenock poking out with those lings in the end is done all right for him as it's gone, because the third behind it was on the way. Because he was on his opponent's doorstep bringing the aggression, there was nothing that viOlet could have done to really deter that third base from doing anything. And nice Overlord kill there, actually.
Well, the Spore Crawler finally did something, right?
Yeah, good job, Spore Crawler. All right, so... That's a weird thing to cheer for, a Spore Crawler killing an Overlord, but we can do that. We can do that. It's fine. Okay, so tons more roaches on the way here for viOlet. How many is he up to now, actually? 27 against 14.
But 65 drones to 53.
Yeah.
Less army, but much bigger potential. Much bigger potential. Better upgrades coming in. With the amount of drones that he has and the spread that he has across 4 bases, he can even be looking at maybe an Hydra's Den or an Infestation Pit soon too. But viOlet's building up. He is building up. He's squeezing in 7 more drones here. But I don't really see an opportunity to viOlet to exploit his high roach count.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because we see the high ground being seized by Leenock in the positions that he needs to seize it, and really not too many openings at all. Even the roaches are actually moving through the middle of the map here for Leenock, which did get spotted there for a second by this Overlord, of course, but viOlet now is a little bit up against it. I'm not sure what he's going to do from here.
Oh, he's just going to build a lot of roaches, and that's what you kind of do in Zerg vs. Zerg.
Yeah, I should have said, I am sure what he's going to do, but how is he going to use those roaches to actually find a hole?
But look, the army supply is getting closer and closer. And not only that, but there will be 2-2 eventually here. You've got this 4th base, you've got the macro hatch as well that Leenock has, so he's just going to be able to build a lot of stuff over and over and over and replenish. It's got to come down to the fight, but it's kind of hard. You can't, in Zerg vs. well, in any kind of matchup really, you can't go into a fight when you have similar stuff into a position which is more defensively set up.
Yeah.
So the position that Leenock has is going to be better than violet's, and also Spine Crawlers are going to be in the mix. So it's very hard for him to break this, and he needs to win a fight, and like I said, it's hard to win that fight.
Yeah, with an Infestation Pit on the way here for Leenock behind all of this, he can't break this, and then we already see Leenock having the advanced tech choice behind this whilst all of this is going on.
I mean, he could go for Hive and 3-3 upgrades.
Look at this concave. Look at this concave. He's trying to push up here, but he takes a lot of free damage on that first volley that actually goes in. viOlet trying to press into here. There's a very hard room to actually retreat out of this location now, unless he does big damage to try and deal with this.
Well, his roaches are stuck. He has to.
Yeah. He has to do damage here, and he was actually focusing down on a queen during all of that. Losing all of these roaches here, that's a big deal.
And is he going to run from this?
I mean, he's going to try. He's going to have to try.
And
but
Leenock makes the hold there, and you know, that's all that Leenock had to do. It's going to be very difficult for viOlet to break into that for the multiple reasons as listed before, but
yeah,
Leenock pushes this back. And with the production capability that Leenock has now, this could be an opportunity for him to siege the momentum now and siege the game.
And he's even going for the Hive during all of this. So he knows how much his opponent committed to that and how he won out during those fights.
In a similar way here, that it's going to be hard for Leenock to also break this. Maybe if there's a couple of spines here, it would be a little bit easier, but he's going to give it a go.
But at least he sees Hydralisks during this fight as well, so he knows what he's going to be going up against throughout all of this.
Leenock has a lot of roaches.
Yes, he does. And also, they're on top of the Hydralisks on the left-hand side, so the Hydras weren't able to really do a whole lot. There weren't that many of them, of course, but they were being pinned down there.
It's going to get broken, I think, here, Kalaris.
Yeah, those units going down. He's not actually rallying over with these roaches as aggressively as he should be doing with his reinforcements, so there is the opportunity for viOlet to actually hold on that, because, again, reinforcement points are important in this matchup.
So he does hold on here. So this is good for viOlet, and he's on 4 bases versus 4. But you have 2 different armies being built, Roach Hydra, and then Roach upgrades, you'd imagine, coming out now. So 3-3 upgrades may get started here. And that opens up an opportunity for viOlet, because he will have Roach Hydra, and if he can get in before upgrades are researched here for Leenock, then he would have the better possible chance to win, but I don't know. It's still going to be hard. He needs that Hydra count decently.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what is it now? It's 1, 2?
But then take the engagement right as well. The Hydralisks cannot be vulnerable during that initial engagement. So viOlet has to be very careful about how he takes the engagements. If one happens out in the middle of the map, all importantly, really needs to be fighting in chokes to, well, depending on how big the choke is, to get full benefit of those Hydralisks staying alive.
Well, very similar supply here, but Hydra range going to finish up. Should be seeing Hydra speed behind that, but obviously with +3 attack coming in and +3 carapace, this is a massive difference. If you could choose between having Roach Hydra and Roach carapace upgrades and attack upgrades like this, I think you'd be going with the Roaches, especially if you're going to involve burrow movement too.
Yeah, and the way that Hydras attack as well, that carapace upgrade is doing a lot against Hydras, how they dish out their damage. So a little
but if he
change
can
things
get in
around
before these upgrades, he's almost at 200 supply.
Yeah, he could do something. He
So,
could.
I mean, the one thing that viOlet doesn't have is Hydra speed, so it's a little bit more difficult for him to move over and even more difficult for him to retreat. But if he goes soon...
But look how the Roaches are positioned here for Leenock. I feel as he's anticipating, like, a push out, and if it does come, he can try and swing in from the back.
And more spines as well. He knows that all he needs to do is get to these 3/3 upgrades.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. He's playing this pretty intelligently as, well, viOlet breaking down these rocks, making sure his bases are going to be protected during the entirety of this game, and that's actually a really good move, considering that there is Burrow as well as Burrowed Roach about to come out.
Yeah.
So you need to block that off as long as possible.
But not only are the upgrades going to be in favor of Leenock, he's going for the Hydralisks. So if he gets both, he gets the upgrades and the Hydralisks.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal.
viOlet's chance is now. It has to be now.
He's actually very, very separated here, is Leenock. He's going to go with one side of his Roaches over there.
There are so many Hydralisks here for viOlet.
Yeah.
He's building 8 spines on his third because he's going to say, oh, okay, you should go for my fourth and hopefully don't come up here, but Leenock gets in too fast.
Yeah, he's being pulled around in the middle of the map and not really doing a huge amount with this army whilst, well, actually, this is a really good separation up from viOlet, actually. He's like, well, if you're going to go for my economy, I'm just going to go straight for yours. Really blow for blow here. The Hydralisks holding on, truly, and all of those spines had to be cancelled because they just weren't in time.
They weren't in time here, and now we have this weird base trace, but those upgrades are going to start completing soon.
This is really going to test Infez's skills because there's just going to be fights absolutely everywhere.
He's on top of the evolution chambers. He didn't manage to get the +3 attack, but he could get the carapace.
Yeah, if he could get the carapace, that would be fantastic. Again, because he has Hydralisk, because of the way they dish out damage, there's just Roaches everywhere, burrowing as well. There aren't really that many Overseers. There's only 2 out here for viOlet.
Yeah, he's going to get the carapace, so that's good for viOlet here. And if he can get the Hydras as they pop, then there's still a chance for viOlet here.
Yeah, at least try. I mean, again, the burrow is really causing him a lot of problems back at home.
But there's 27 Hydralisks about to come out for Leenock.
And he does even have the Overlord speed as well, so those Overseers can get into positions to deny these as quickly as possible. viOlet up in terms of supply right now, and that is a lot of army supply, 140. He's down to 12 workers. So this army for viOlet has to be the deal maker. It has to do something.
Yeah, I mean, it has a great opportunity to do. I think he did. I think he managed the crisis really well to go back but leave some to do the damage, because Leenock didn't really get that much damage done over the other side. Sure, he cleared up the economy, but he lost a lot of his army, and now viOlet's got... Look at viOlet's army size!
It's massive. Absolutely massive. 19 Hydralisks are on the way here. Leenock is trying to buy time to get those out, but he has to retreat away from all of these things. And unfortunately for him, viOlet's army is absolutely huge now, breaching this location as well, pushing on forward, getting on top of these spine crawlers, all the drones off the line as well for Leenock. He knows he's in a lot of trouble here, and the Hydralisks are just not dying at this point.
I think that, like I said, viOlet managed the crisis so much better there.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. These few scattered Roaches now coming back for Leenock to try and hold on. The Roach Warren is gone. It's only going to be a few Hydralisks being
close
built.
in army supply.
Yeah, with all of that, how it went. I mean, how is the economy doing? It's a little bit in tatters for Leenock as well now. These Hydralisks, it's really do or die here for viOlet.
Does he have enough to take this on? I think that viOlet's army is looking much better.
Yeah, that's a lot of Hydras. Doesn't really have that much tanking for them, but if they're killing things off quickly enough for the opposing army to really not do anything during it, then it's going to be difficult.
viOlet's chances now.
Going to try and jump on this once again. Down to this mining base, which is all important here. Really needs to cripple the economy. Drones come off the line once again for Leenock, needing to hold on.
Queen could be the MVP here.
And the Roach is actually breaking through. There's very few Roaches left over here for viOlet to hold on with those Hydralisks right on top of them. viOlet is going to lose this. GG! Leenock pulls it out.
Whoa.
Crazy games here in the group stage, but Leenock is our victor.
Very close series between these two players. And unfortunately for viOlet, so close but so far. Leenock and viOlet, they've been friends for a very, very long time, as you can see. But it is Leenock that edges out there at the last seconds.
Very, very close game. Close series overall as well. viOlet gotta be a little bit disappointed with that loss. Could have gone a different way. But overall, Leenock is the winner.
Leenock is the winner, but that puts Leenock in a good position now. He goes into the winners game, and as we talked about before, we already have the other player that he must go against, and it will be Leenock versus Yoda, the next game on this stage, the next game on this stream. Which player will go through in first place? And then, of course, we have viOlet dropping down, and he must play against Hyun, a rematch from the Red Bull event just last week, where viOlet was able to pull that victory.
In the end, you called it before. I mean, Yoda could be the disruptor of this group, only having to play against Zergs here in Group B. Good potential for him.
Okay, thank you very much, commentary team there, Kalaris and Apollo, bringing you the action from the RVR game that we just watched. Once upon a time, there was a little roach called Rodney, and he got a bit friendly with Rowena, the roach, and they made some babies. And they had lots more roaches. And roaches just carried on coming. Until one day they decided we need to kind of trim the family a little bit. So they sent them into battle. And RVR was born.
That's a very, very touching, heartwarming tale, Paul.
I'm so shocked that we had roaches in those games.
Man, you know what? Sometimes when you see units other than roaches, it gives you like a really crazy amount of hope. Because I was thinking in that last fight, I'm like, man, viOlet, he's taking a lot of hits. Of course, he lost all of his drones, but he has a lot of units that aren't roaches, and they seem to be doing a really good job pushing through all the spine crawlers in the first wave of defense. And I had this glimpse of hope, and then I realized how much harder it was to kill all the extra roaches that his opponent had, and we were reminded why we do see mostly roaches in the Zerg versus Zerg matchup.
We do. I mean, talk about the battle itself, Todd. Fairly even game one, relatively even game two as well. It was only maybe Leenock had a slight advantage with the bank that he had, but other than that, it was pretty close. And then game three, you stood there and went, oh, viOlet's got this.
Yeah, I really think viOlet had it. Like the way he had his army all together, you know, he was defending better, I thought, back at home. And having sniped the Roach run was a big deal. For the longest time, Leenock wasn't able to make anything other than Hydras, which you don't really want to make at this point in the game. But in the end, I guess he just salvaged the situation a lot better than viOlet, who I guess those spines also kind of helped in diminishing the size of the army of viOlet. It was a weird game. We've had a lot of games like this, if you think about it.
We definitely have had
so many base trades.
Yep.
We've had a draw. Like, what's going on here?
Well, I think it's just a crazy level of competition, isn't it? I mean, what else can it be?
I'd say that we've had some really intense games. I don't know if we got to discuss this too much on the stream, but the tie game especially was one of the crazier things that I was able to watch.
That's the Pulp Bunny game.
Yeah, Pulp Bunny game one. They had to do a regame and buildings floating in the air. But for this match, I personally liked viOlet a lot. I feel like he's had a lot of momentum this year moving through. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that it was a bad match for him either way, because he still showed really good games. That last map, that's just something special, like we were talking about. It's just not a situation that you get into very often. And I think it was really cool to see just how effectively used the spine crawlers, because as strong as viOlet's Hydralisks were, those spines will kill all of the roach meat shield very quickly, and then just Hydras versus roaches, Hydras need something to tank for them a little bit more.
Leenock, in terms of the way that he's played through the open bracket yesterday, was very impressive. Came back to win against Huck as well, and then opens up today by just, beating viOlet. It's such a great run for him already. I mean, how far can he go, do you think?
I think he can go pretty far. If you look at some of his latest series, like the last two, like just beating Hug this morning, 2-0, very convincingly. Now playing against viOlet, who I thought would have some advantage against Leenock in terms of standard macro game. Leenock did win game two of a nice early lead that he took with some nice aggressive build. Other than that, he was very convincing in the last game. in the way it salvaged the situation, as I said before. So now he's going up against a Yoda who has had trouble versus Zerg in the past, but he's probably playing better than he ever has been. And Leenock, I'm a big fan of his DVT, so I'm really looking forward to that match.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Nathan, actually. We've got another Terran in the upper bracket final. It's good in the first two groups. Terran's looking very strong. But Yoda, would it be fair to say that he's playing probably better than he did when he won the Intel Extreme Masters before?
Yoda's in the best shape he's been in since that performance by far. It was a real treat to see him go through the qualifier for Battlegrounds Online. He took out some truly fantastic players. It was like 3 or 4 qualifiers worth. He made it through on one of the later ones, but he really surprised us with just how far he was able to go, taking out some of the Kessler players. I believe he defeated CJ Hero, who was also here. Just no small feat. He had to defeat, I think it was one of his teammates first as well. Terran versus Zerg looked incredibly sharp. I think he's probably one of the stronger players in this group. Probably more underestimated since he hasn't had quite the results lately.
Sure. Yeah, and what sort of effect, Todd, does it have? You've joined many teams over your career and changed teams. What effect does it have on players when they join a team after not being in a team for a while? Do they get that kind of, oh yeah, I feel more comfortable, I'm happier, I've got some support behind me? Does that help them?
You're extra motivated to really show that they made a good move by recruiting you.
Okay, so TCM obviously taking on both Yoda and First as well. It's a decent pickup, isn't it?
Yeah, these are two guys that have played really well in the matches, especially because I mean, it's, you know, from my perspective, I got to cast a lot of their games, and Rotterdam and I were super impressed by Yoda because when he first made the switch over to WCS Europe, I was like, well, okay, I like seeing some of the better Korean Terrans going there since, you know, typically as a Terran that likes watching WCS Europe, you get 4GG, and then up until I'd say the last year, you know, Bunny wasn't quite up there yet. Now he's of course a treat to watch. MMA, of course, but I was expecting a bit more out of Yoda. He didn't really blow me away at first, but I feel like over the last month or so, the quality of games he's shown is much better, even if, you know, he wasn't able to come out on top in his group for this season.
Okay, thank you very much, gents. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, though, we'll see that Terran in action because Yoda goes head-to-head with Leenock for a place in the quarterfinals.